Hey guys, welcome to the gun shop. Today we're going to be looking at this, the Stoeger M3000 Peregrine. This gun retails at $395. It's built in Turkey. However, unlike all of the other offerings, this one is inertia driven and owned by Benelli. Anyway, coming close. Let's have a look, see if you like it. Starting on the back, you have a Stoeger branded ventilated pad. It's not particularly exciting, but will give you some recoil reduction. What is more exciting is the stock. The stock is a sort of a rough finished synthetic. You know, the quality isn't superb and you don't sort of look at it and feel wowed, but the fact that it is non-glare and the whole of this gun is non-glare is quite exciting. And that pertains to the fact that this gun really is built for hunting as opposed to built for practical. They do make a practical shooting version called the M3K that's slightly different. Oh, it's not really built for clay shooting. This is a hunting specific gun. Let's stop at that. The grip on it is actually quite nice. The grip fills your hand quite well. It's quite a big grip for a semi, which is odd. Pressed checkering, feels good and grippy enough without feeling too sharp. And it comes with a sling stud moulded onto the stock. It's almost like somebody has made the stock and then run it over with some 400 grit sandpaper, which is probably what they've done. But I like the effect. I've seen people do it in the past, synthetic stocks, just to make them a bit duller. But it's just nice to see that you don't have to do that, because it's always a harsh thing taking sandpaper to your gun. It comes with a full shim kit, so you can adjust this stock to suit you nicely. Operationally, you have a safety behind the trigger there, and the trigger is actually, for a cheaper semi, quite crisp. The bolt, driven on the inertia system, locks back with this button here, and you can put a cartridge in and 2 up the bottom, although as standard this gun comes as a 4+1, which will obviously apply to the rest of the world and not the UK. If you want bigger capacity, they do bigger models, or you can stick extension tubes on them. The forend is done in the same matte finish as is the barrel and action. The whole gun is extremely flat and black and nice. I know a couple of guys who've had these for about a year now and they do mark up a little bit, but where it's not shiny, the marks don't show so well. And these guys are treating them pretty hard. Mechanically, which is where it gets very interesting, this gun is essentially just a Benelli, made in Turkey. The forend comes off with the barrel, just like so. You have no gas ports, obviously, it's a very clean design. This is a 3-inch gun. They do the M3500, which is a 3.5-inch gun. However, if you want to reliably cycle lighter loads, then this really is the one for you. The M3000 will do 2 3/4 and 3-inch loads reliably, as long as they're above an ounce, generally speaking. I know people who do put lighter loads through them and say they work. However, it's not guaranteed for that. So what can I say? This is where it gets exciting, is the fact that it's actually just an M1 underneath. You have that, instead of the spring, the rat tail, and having the spring in the stock, you have the spring on the forend. So it can add extra weight, it does add extra weight. This gun is 7 £2, by comparison to the M2, which is a little bit lighter than that. So there is a little bit of extra weight. In fact, if we pull this bolt out here, you will see that the whole thing is actually extremely reminiscent of a Benelli system, or an older Benelli system. So this is not an M2 underneath, this is nothing modern, but it does have certain things very similarly in common with other Benellis. And more importantly, there are some things like pins that you can interchange between the two if you feel the need. One final thing before I put this back together is that actually one thing that's overridingly obvious is that the finish quality is not the same as Benelli. You know, the metal is rougher, it's less polished, the edges are less refined, but for most of us that probably won't matter too much, given the fact that this is £400. And if you want to see where they save between this and an entry-level M1, this being 400 and entry-level M1 now being just under £1,000, well, it's not hard to see. The finish quality is there, the technology is old, and the fact that you only have to pay Turkish workers €422 a month all adds up to be quite good. You know, when your wage bill is 30% that of the Italian wage bill, that's certainly a thing. The finish quality, the material quality of the stock is less nice and certainly less solid feeling than the Benellis. But for 400 quid, I don't think I'd complain. In fact, for 400 quid, this probably is one of the most solid Turkish options that's been out in a while. That, and the fact that you have the GMK in this country backup service and workshops is quite a nice thing. It's handy, right? To put this thing back together, you take the forend, you attach it to the barrel, you take it, and you pop it all over the mag tube there, pulling the bolt back ever so slightly. That comes in, The forend then presses down into place and it clips in. Forend neck goes on. And away you go. Essentially, this is like a baby Benelli. And for those of you who, let's say, don't want to spend the money out on a Benelli, this could be a really good option. Again, I know a few people who've had them and they do get worked hard and they are just as reliable as a Benelli. So from that point of view, you're not really losing out on anything particularly. Plus you have a little orange mag follower, that's quite cute, and a nice little Stoeger thing in there. You know, there's a couple of little details that will make you smile. It's not just a boring black gun, there's a couple of things that do make it slightly more unique. Peregrine engraved on the side, as well as a Stoeger M3000. Stoeger Turkey. The end. Let's have a little conclusion. So how do we sum up this Turkish Benelli? Well, quite simply this. You know, you go and you buy Cadbury's digestives in a packet, and sometimes you can buy them in a box of broken digestives. This is the box of broken digestives. It doesn't look as nice, but it does taste the same. Which is kind of good, and that's kind of what you want to achieve, isn't it, for 400 quid? It's got great technology, it's a great gun. You know, if you're looking to cycle lighter loads reliably, this probably isn't the gun for you. But however, for all of your pest control needs and all your wildfowling needs, as a truck gun, I think you're going to go a long way to beat it. I don't think I'd be happy taking this out on the clays next to some of the other auto offerings that are out there at that 400 quid mark. However, this is by far and away going to be the hardest gun out there for 400 quid. That is the Benelli stable signature. The hardness, the strength, the fact that you don't have to clean it, you can just rag it and use it and use it and use it. And you've got the might of Benelli behind it. That is not a knockoff. This is just, well, it's like the B team, isn't it? But when the B team costs less than half of what the A team costs and does 90% of what the A team can do, it's hard to pick holes, isn't it? It really is. My only gripe, and this is my only gripe, is that the weight does sit too far forward. So actually, what you almost want is just a little bit of a weight bag in the back. Just to add a little bit more into your right hand if you want to have this as something that's going to shoot a little bit sweeter. However, more than likely you're not taking this out to go and shoot for sweet. At the end of the day, this is a workhorse, and a cracking workhorse it is as well. Thank you very much for watching, guys. It's been brilliant. Take care. I'll see you next time.